In '86, Bobby was working as a Louisiana State Trooper. He was shot in the face and blinded in the line of duty. As a result of the shooting and the aftermath of the trauma, he realized the need for law enforcement officers to have assistance when dealing with post-trauma. As a result, in 2001, he founded and currently serves as the director of the Foundation for Officers Recovering from Traumatic Events. He's a renowned author and speaker. He's provided training and motivation to overcome adversity to numerous speaking events to hundreds of organizations, to include the FBI National Academy, DEA Training Academy, Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. He's been on a national public radio interviews as a guest, several police academies, state trooper associations, International Police Chaplains Association. He is a national, international motivational speaker and trainer, focusing on dealing with the aftermath of trauma, certified law enforcement trainer. He has a PhD in counseling and psychology, Masters of Education, emphasis in exercise physiology, crisis negotiator, author of Visions of Courage and The Will to Survive.
Another book came in today?
Another book came in today. He is the director of FORT, the Forte Foundation, like I said, member of the Society of Police and Criminal Psychology.
Stop.
He got his degree from Pacific Western University, PhD in counseling and psychology in 2000. I think one of his highlights of many, he personally met with President Reagan for his courage and determination in the face of adversity. I want you all to help welcome my good friend and a co-worker, my dear friend and LSP Trooper Bobby Smith.
Had I known he was going to read all that crap, I'd have taken that paper.
Bobby, I didn't read nothing, man. I had that memorized.
Oh, you're a liar. You from Boyle's Parish, you can't remember 2 lines, but that's 2 pages. Where you guys from? Somebody tell me where you're from.
New Orleans.
Oh, God love you. The state of New Orleans. There you go. What else? Chicago. I was up in Des Moines last week with DEA and some young guys from Chicago. That's the real police right there. They will whip your butt, bro. Where else?
Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio. I'm gonna be there a bunch of times. What's your name, my brother?
John Lopez.
John. I'm gonna be spend a lot of time in Ohio. I'm gonna be there next month and spend a couple of days in Ohio. Where else?
New Mexico.
New Mexico. Lord, did you bring us some food, my brother? Okay, where else?
San Antonio.
San Antonio. Wow, good place. I like San Antonio. Where else?
St. John.
St. John. Okay. Anywhere else? Ascension Parish. Well, y'all stay busy, don't you, my brother? Y'all have been busy. Anywhere else?
Houston.
Houston. I went through there yesterday. I flew through Houston yesterday. That's a big city, isn't it, brother? So y'all got y'all's crime problems, don't you? Lots of people there. Anywhere else?
Thibodeau.
Oh, dude, you're not even from Louisiana, man. If you didn't bring no crawfish, it's going back home. You know what I'm saying? Great food there. Anything else?
St. Tammany.
St. Tammany. Been there. Was you there when I spoke there last year? I spoke to St. Tammany. Well, they got me coming back again. Y'all just had a bad deal y'all dealing with right now, and the police officer involved in that, the deputy involved in that. Anywhere else? You know, what's your name, my friend, from St. Tammany?
Nick Tranchine.
Nick. You know, Nick's major called me, 2 Saturdays ago when the shooting happened, and his major, one of the majors called me. He told me what had happened. They had a shooting there where they had, I don't know what you actually, I was going to say a hostage situation type deal, but it was a bad deal, and deputy had to take a man's life. You know, we all go to work every day as police officers, and we know that when you put that uniform on and you hang a badge on your chest, wouldn't it be great? They give us body armor, they give us tasers, and they give us weapons and all kind of stuff. But wouldn't it be great if that issue was a crystal ball? You know what I'm saying? If you believe in crystal balls. But if we all went to work every day knowing that when we pull that car over, or we knock on that door on the disturbance, whatever it is, wouldn't it be great if we knew what was going to happen in the next 5 minutes? Wouldn't that be great? wouldn't it?
Yes, sir.
No. That would be great, but that's not reality. And every day when we go to work, and you guys are here, you know, for how many days that y'all are here, because y'all are the best of the best at what you do. You know, tactical stuff, the shooting stuff, which is all very, very important. And, you know, I'm a firm believer in, of course, with the state police and EJ and the captain and some of the stuff that they're doing with our leadership stuff we're doing in the state police and our troopers assistance program and our in-service stuff. And we're tying all those things together on are you prepared? You know, we all know we go out there, we're tactically prepared, we know how to shoot. I firmly believe that for you to be a really good officer, you have to have all these components. Now, I'm totally blind. I don't know what any of you look like, but I'd be willing to bet that most of you guys, probably all of you in this class, are in pretty good shape. Would that be true?
Yes, sir.
Shake your head, yeah? Because you understand the importance of being physically fit. If you're gonna have to, you know, y'all read, we keep up with what's going on in our field. You know, because our number one goal, we go to work every day, is to do what?
Go home.
Go home. Is to go home. You know, we took an oath to protect and serve them, but what about us? What about you? What about me? We go to work every day. You know, we wanna go do our job, we're gonna protect, we're gonna serve, we're gonna do all the right things. We have to be physically fit to do that. We have to be mentally fit. We have to be tactically sound. But how do we deal with all the issues that we have to deal with in law enforcement? And how does this affect us? We just want to go home. But it's more than just going home, isn't it? Are you going home healthy? And what are we doing? What do we do in this job that gets us in trouble? When I look at the number one killer of cops in this country, what is it? No, it's not.
Suicide.
Suicide. You know, we hear, but you know what? What's your name, my brother? You said heart disease. Don. Now see, what Donnie's saying is not, you know, and I said, no, that's not true. But that's what we hear, isn't it? Because the number one killer of cops in this country is fatality accidents. We get involved in chases and stuff like that. We get killed in the line of duty. When I say in the line of duty, in vehicle wrecks. Then we retire. The research tells me that by the time you're 58 years old, you're probably going to die of a heart attack. So Donnie's right to some extent. And while we hear that about fatality accidents and we hear about heart disease and heart attacks and stuff like that, is because we don't like to talk about suicide, do we? Which is the number one killer. The number one killer of cops in this country is not the bad guy shooting you. It's you shooting yourself. Because we have not been taught how to deal with the accumulation of grief and loss and death. When y'all went through y'all's academy, did y'all talk a lot about that? Did you?
No.
No. I dang sure did. I started my career in 1975, before some of us even born. You think we talked about grief and loss and death and stuff like that? No. I'll never forget. One of the first fatalities that I worked, two teenage boys, 16 years old, crashed their car in the middle of a curve, driving too fast, acting like teenagers do, unfortunately. And both of them were killed and they burned up in the car. When I got to the scene, the car was engulfed in flames. It looked like a small inferno. I got out of my unit. I felt so helpless. What am I going to do? I mean, you couldn't get within 20 yards of this car. How many of y'all been there? Say yes.
Yes.
Fun, isn't it? When you feel helpless, you took an oath to protect and serve, but you feel so helpless because there's nothing you can do. And I remember standing there just looking, watching this car burn. I mean, flames are shooting over the top of the trees. Gas is spilled out all over the ground. You couldn't get within, like I said, 20 yards of the car. And I just stood there, this young cop. Unfortunately, it's going to be the first of many fatalities. But I remember the veteran officer pulled up behind me. He got out of his car, and I didn't even realize he was there because I'm just so focused on this car. I'm thinking to myself, who's in there? How many's in there? I wonder if they got out alive. But I knew they didn't because their car was wrapped around this tree. I mean, in the middle of this curve, this huge tree, the car was just mangled. I knew there's no way anybody got out of that car. Who's in there? How many's in there? This veteran cop walked up to me because he got out of his car, and he would tell me later, he got out of the car and he stood there and he's watching me. Now, y'all tell me, what was this veteran cop doing? What was he doing? As he got out of the car, just standing there looking at me. What is he doing? Say that again, my friend.
Watching
watching your reaction.
Watch my reaction. He's trying to figure out, now this is a veteran cop. I'm just a young rookie cop. And he's trying to decide, how's this kid gonna react to this? How's this young cop gonna react to it? This is bad. Because we all know, how many of you in here have delivered death notifications to a parent whose child was killed? Say yes.
Yes.
It's fun, isn't it? It's horrible. It's not fun at all. You know, we're not supposed to bury our children, you know what I'm saying? That's not right. It's out of the order of things. But he walked up to me, put his arm around me. I looked up at him. And I'm telling you, guys, I felt so helpless. How did I help? I took an oath to protect and serve. He looked down at me. He was much taller than I. He looked down at me and he said, son, you sure you want to be one of us? You sure you want to be a police officer? Now, those are rhetorical questions. He didn't expect a response at all. He said, you sure you want to be one of us? He said, then you better learn now how to suck it up and deal with it, because that's just the way it is, if you want to be one of us. One of the things that I've learned, I guess, I started my career 37 years ago, in dealing with grief and loss and death. Are any of us exempt?
No.
None of us are exempt from that. Have every one of you in this room, including myself, have we all had to walk through the valleys of life?
Yes.
Yes. Nobody's exempt. So what do we do then, guys? We go to work every day with these unnoticed things that goes through our minds. We don't think about it. Number one, we get so acclimated to it. How many of you in here believe in self-fulfilling prophecy? Say yes.
Yes.
You should. Because if I tell you something enough, you'll believe it, won't you? What is the one thing, I was talking to Captain Williams on the way out here a few minutes ago. I said, what is the one thing we as young cops, when you joined your agency, that first week you were there, what is the one thing you wanted from those veteran cops? Come on, what you want? Respect is something you, oh, guys, I'm sorry. Respect is something you'll learn. That takes a little bit of time. But what is the one thing you wanted when you walked into the department? Guidance. I like that. What else? Acceptance. We want to be accepted. We want to be accepted by those veteran cops that we look up to, go, man, cool. You see those guys that look like they've been here 15, 20, 30 years? You go, wow. I remember a rookie cop, I remember thinking, I'd see some of those veteran cops working night shift, man, and you could tell they were tough. And man, they had a reputation. I remember thinking as a young cop, I wonder how many people they killed. You know what I'm saying? Now, how many cops will go through their career and never fire their weapon? What percentage do you think?
85.
In the line of duty?
Yeah, in a line of duty.
98.
95% will never fire their weapon. 25, 30 years of policing. So what do? We go to work every day. How many of you in here worked the fatality acts of a child? Say yes.
Yes.
It's fun, isn't it?
No.
How many of you in here have delivered a death notification to a parent whose kid was killed in some manner? Say yes. It's fun, isn't it? How many of you in here have worked a sexual abuse case where a child was sodomized and raped and sexually abused by a father or grandfather? Say yes.
Yes.
It's fun, isn't it? How many of you in here have been in a scene where a cop was seriously injured or killed? Say yes.
Yes.
It's fun, isn't it? How many of you in here have had a child die in your arms at a fatality scene? Say yes. It's fun, isn't it? So what do we do? What do we do with all these stressors? You know, we go out every day. You know, you guys know how to defend yourself. Y'all are tactically sound, physically fit. But what about up here? How do we deal with all these stressors of our job? When we know every day we're going to have to go out and deal with all these things. Domestic violence. How many of you worked a domestic violence complaint for the woman who was killed? Say yes.
Yes.
It's fun, isn't it? So how do we do it? Because we're only human. We're only human. I don't care how many years you've been on the job. I don't care what color your badge is. I don't care what color your uniform is. I don't care what kind of gun you have or what your reputation is. My friends, we're only human. And you can only put so much water in a cup. Am I telling the truth?
Yes, sir.
And when that cup fills up, it's going to overflow. When it usually overflows with all that crap we just mentioned, all this fatality, this grief and loss. When it overflows, where does it usually overflow at? Come on, talk to me. At home. At home. And we usually take it out on the people that we're closest to, the ones we love, the ones we say that we love the most. Am I telling the truth? And that's why 75% of you will be divorced at least once, including me. Because we buy into the lie. With these self-fulfilling prophecies, I'll never forget, May 1975. I was working my way through college up in Northeast, up in Monroe. And we had a lot of the guys that were police officers in North Louisiana would go to school at Northeast in criminal justice. Some of the guys who worked night shift would come to class in the mornings in their uniform. There was this one guy, he was a mountain of a man. Good-looking guy. Always had a smile on his face. What a personality he had. Very outgoing. Everybody knew him, but he was always telling war stories in class because the professor would bring up a topic, and he always had a story. And I met a couple of those Monroe police officers in West Monroe, some of the deputies, this was state troopers, and I met a few of them, and so I finally asked them, I said, who is that guy? And they said, dude, that's a legend right there. He's a legend. Been a cop for about 15, 20 years, circled my band to the bone. I get hired, Monroe PD, hired to come into the state. Who they assigned me with? This legend. And I get in the car with this man. He looked over at me. I'll never forget. He looked over at me. He said, boy, where I know you from? You look familiar. I said, well, sir, I said, I got some classes with you after university. I knew who he was because he was the police. Do people know who you are? In
Yes.
your community, in your town, do they know who you are?
Yep.
You run into them all the time. Oh, hey, officer. Hey, deputy. Hey, trooper. How you doing? Do you know who they are?
Nope.
No. They know who you are. I knew who he was. I'm just a college kid to him. I said, sir, I got some class for you after university. Oh, you one of them college boys, are you, boy? He said, Mom and Daddy done sent you to school, got you in a fraternity somewhere, got you a couple of rental buddies, do you, boy? I said, no, sir. I said, my parents don't have a lot of money. I said, I'm working my way through school. He said, oh, good for you, boy. He said, that's good for you if you work for it and earn it. He said, you'll appreciate it better. He said, got some friends out there at school, do you? I said, I do have some friends. He said, not for long you won't. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Not for long you won't. Not if you want to be one of us. He said, because from now on, the only friends you'll have will just be who?
Police.
Just us.
Us.
Just the police. That'll be the only friends you ever have. Now, guys, let me ask you a question. Do you think that's a mistake?
Yes.
It is. How many of you know people who was in your agency that retired after 25, 30 years and we never heard from them again? Does it happen? Happens too much, doesn't it? It happens to us in state police. We have these guys who leave and we probably never hear from them and they never hear from us. And that's a shame. Say that again. What do you say? He said, boy, you married? I said, yes, sir. He said, not for long you won't be. He said, not if you want to be one of us. Self-fulfilling prophecy. 2 years later, I went through a divorce with my high school sweetheart, the mother of our daughter, Kim. We're still friends today. Let me just say this. I never have understood, and in my position with the state police, I oversee our troopers assistance program. I talk with lots of troopers, lots of guys in DPS. It amazes me how many of us go through divorces because we bought into the lie, just like I did. That to be a good cop, you had to be married to the job. Most of you guys, if not all of you in this room, are what I would call, we consider the hard chargers. You know what I'm saying? Y'all like to shoot. Y'all like to run through doors. Y'all like to take care of business. And y'all are good at what y'all do. But I'm going to ask you a question. Which one are you married to? Your spouse, your family, your kids, or this job? Because one of these days when we're on our deathbed, I promise you, you're not going to want to see the sheriff or the chief or the superintendent. You're going to want your kids. Am I telling the truth? And I have to ask you, I'm shooting straight with you today, guys, because I see it too often. Where we've been so committed to our careers and our jobs that we left our children out. And we've taken them for granted. Because on your deathbed, you're going to want your kids to be there. And unfortunately, some of you in here, your kid's probably not gonna be at your bedside because you have no relationship with them. And you'll pay for that. This job, as much as we love it, guys, listen to me. If God would decided to give me back my sight this afternoon, I would run to the colonel's office. I'd say, Mike, dude, I can see. God gave me back my sight. I don't know what happened. My eyesight came back on. So swam me back in. Give me a set of car keys. I'm freaking going 10-8. Because we love being the police. And I miss it tremendously. And how we take our family for granted. How we even take our jobs and careers for granted. You know, we go to work some days, and I hear it all the time. We gripe and complain about we don't have this, we don't have that, and my car's got 120,000 miles on it. Guys, I wish I could drive a freaking car. You know what I'm saying? Well, we don't make very much money. I wish I could just put my uniform on out there. I'd do it for free. Just let me come back to be the police. See, we take things for granted. We don't appreciate sometimes the things that we have. We look out the window and see a part of the cloud instead of a part of the sun. You see, my mama taught me well. She said, I remember my mom, this beautiful lady, she died on December the 12th, 1962. December the 12th was also my 10th birthday. My mom, this beautiful lady who died with a incurable disease at the age of 36. But I remember my mom standing at the kitchen window. One afternoon, the storm was moving in. The sky turned dark, it's thundering, it's lightning, it's pouring down rain. And my mom, this beautiful lady who lived in so much pain but never once complained, because she never took a single day for granted. My mama knew she was going to die at an early age. Now, I didn't know that. I'm just a little boy. Because you could not tell it. My mom didn't walk around whining and complaining, I don't feel good, and I'm sick, and I'm hurting. Although she lived in excruciating pain for 10 years of her life, my mama never once complained. She never took her friends, her family, her children for granted. She didn't take her day for granted because she knew tomorrow might not come to her. She's standing at the kitchen window. The storm's moving in. The sky's turning dark, it's thundering and lightning. And my mom, this beautiful lady, standing there looking out the window. She said, baby, come look how pretty. I'm just a little boy. I ran to the window, holding on to my mama's waistline. I tiptoed to look out the kitchen window. And I said, Mom, well, what you look? She said, I want you to come look, see how pretty. Come look at this, so beautiful. I said, Mom, it's just dark and ugly outside. Matter of fact, it's thundering and lightning. It's kind of scary. I'm just a little boy. She said, oh, baby, not that. Not that. She said, look right over there, son. Can you see it? She pointed to the right. And we've all seen it. That single ray of sunlight piercing through the darkness. And my mom, she said, now remember, son, when the storms of life move in your life gets dark, she said, baby, don't focus on the darkness of your storm. She said, you look for that ray of sunlight in the midst of your darkness. Now, I'm a little boy. I ain't got a clue what my mom was talking about. But see, what my mama was doing was looking at her own life. My mama looked out that kitchen window and saw her own life with so much darkness, emotional, physical pain. She knew her life would end soon, but my mom didn't focus on all that. My mom looked at that single ray of sunlight coming through her darkness, if you will. She said, son, you just focus on the light. You just focus on the light. Now, I didn't know what she meant, but I would understand 20-something years later. As a Louisiana State Trooper, sitting in the corner of my bedroom, totally blind, crying. And I talked to my mom. I said, Mom, it sure is dark where I live here in this world called blindness, but you have never lied to me. You said, in the midst of the storm, always look for that ray of sunlight in the midst of your storm. I said, Mom, I'll just keep looking for that light. I wonder sometimes, my friends, if we get so caught up in all the darkness that we have to deal with as cops, the murders, the rapes, the domestic violence, the child abuse, fatality accidents, our brothers being killed in the line of duty? Do we get so caught up in all the darkness that we have to deal with? Because we don't usually get phone calls that says, hey, go by and see Miss Adams over there on 123 Government Street. She just made a hot apple pie and put on a pot of coffee. See, we don't get those phone calls, do we? We get phone calls that says go by and see the lady there because her husband's been killed or her child is missing. We have to deal with the darkness of life. But do we get so caught up in it, my friends, that we forget to see the ray of sunlight? Now, I guarantee I could call every one of y'all up here and say, take 1 minute. Tell me about one thing that happened in your career that you'll never forget. Something you did for someone that had nothing to do with law enforcement, but you were a cop in a uniform. Do we all have a story?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I hope you do. I hope y'all have a story of something you did for someone that had nothing to do with putting handcuffs on somebody or taking them to jail. See, we take our oath very seriously, don't, to protect. But I wonder, do we fail sometimes in forgetting we also took an oath to serve? Now, I worked up in Troop F in Monroe. No one at the troop wrote less tickets than me. They used to pick at me all the time. They called me Gentle Ben. Well, Gentle Ben, heart big as all outdoors. How many did you let go today? How many did you take home today? Well, I did. I took a lot home. But I got a big heart. And I care about people. And I understood, brother, they said you could use discretion. And brother, I did it. And I used discretion with capital letters. I took my oath seriously to protect and to serve. But even when we do those things, my friends, how do we have to deal with all this darkness, if you will, that we have to deal with? How do we deal with that stuff? These unnoticed things in our lives. You know, when you put that body armor on every morning, when you put your trousers on, you slip on your body armor, what are you basically doing? When you put it on, what are you doing? Preparing for what? For battle. For war. The subconscious mind knows, I'm going to go out. I don't know what's going to happen when that car pulls over. I don't know what's going to happen with that person behind the door when I knock on disturbance. So the mind is so powerful. It's called the amygdala. It's the amygdala is about the size of a walnut. It's a portion of the brain that deals with all the memories that you have from the time you were in your mother's womb until right this instant. Everything that you have learned, what you have been taught, all the experiences you have been logged on the mainframe we call the brain in this amygdala. It deals with all these memories. So how does this affect us when we go to work every morning? We put on our uniform, we put on our body armor. The subconscious mind knows that you are suiting up for battle. It may not happen, but you're prepared, mentally prepared. Now we all know that when you do that, you go into a mild form of fight or flight. Now fight or flight's a good thing, isn't it? It tells you it's either time to fight or it's time to run. Now we don't like to use that term run, do we? Because that sounds like we're being a coward. Is there a time that we need to retreat? Absolutely. EJ, is it okay to retreat?
Just fight in another direction, Bob.
There you go. I like it. Frickin' Marine. He don't have to know. They don't know how to do it. Fighting in another direction. I've never heard that, but I'm going to use that. I like it. I like it. But it's okay. It's okay to take cover. It's okay to take a better position and wait for backup to come. But what happens to us in the morning when we go to work, we're in this fight or flight mood, our blood pressure rises, our heart rate increases, preparing us for battle. We go into a mild form of fight or flight. Now we know that this is good because what it does by use of the five senses, they're all enhanced. You see better, you hear better, you can taste better, you smell better, your hands become very sensitive to touch. When you're in this fight or flight. Lots of physiological things are going on. You know, the blood flow is pretty much cut off or diminished going all the major organs. And all the blood flow goes to the arms and legs, preparing you to either run or to fight. Whichever one is applicable to you. But we don't notice that. We don't notice all those things because we get so acclimated to these higher levels of stress. And I hear cops say all the time, oh, I work better under stress. Now, is there some truth in that? There is some truth in that. You know, because we all understand that when you're under a little bit of stress, not too much, but a little bit, all these senses are heightened and you're more aware of what you're doing. Well, what do we do then? At the end of the day, we come home with all these stressors. We know we have to deal with all this stuff. We go home with all these obvious stressors I mentioned a few minutes ago. The fatality accidents, the murders, the rapes, the child abuse. We come home, we've got all these things we have to deal with, and we walk into the house. Now, probably if I walked in here this morning, I walked around the room, and I walked up to you and I said, hey man, how you doing today? What would you probably say to me? What would you say? I'm fine. I'm good. That's a good day, man. Having fun. You cannot go where murders and rapes and child abuse and fatality accidents go home and just be fine because you're only what?
Human.
You're only human. You're only human. And this crap will get to you. But we're Superman. Oh, we're Wonder Woman. We're Superman. We come home every day with all this stuff in our cup. We have a tendency to dump it on our families. I tell cops all the time, I don't know why it's so hard for us to just be honest. Why can't we go home when that child died in your arm? And I've been there. And you deliver that death notification to a mom whose kid was killed. I've been there. And you work the sexual abuse cases where this child has been sodomized and raped by a grandfather. And he told her, this little 5-year-old, 6-year-old little girl, his granddaughter, you're special, and this is our secret, but if you love Grandpa, oh, Grandpa, you know I love you. Well, if you really love Grandpa, now you can't tell your sister because she'll be jealous because it's just between me and you. But if you really want to show Papa how much you love him, here's what you do, and you unzip his pants. We've all been there. And you go home at the end of the day with all this crap in your cup. And instead of being honest with your family, they say, how was your day? You said, oh, it was okay, it was fine. But guys, they know you're lying because they're reading your body language. They're reading your facial expressions. Your children have learned, since you've been a cop, because they've learned too, that when Daddy comes home, they look at your facial expressions. You tell them you're doing fine. Oh, it was a fine day, it was all good, but your behavior indicates otherwise. They're not stupid. They're watching us and they're reading our body language. They're listening to what we say. See, I can tell you all day long, I love you. I'm walking in my office every day. I can tell the people I work with, I can tell my wife when I get home how much I love her, but does my behavior indicate that? But when your cup is real full, it's kind of hard to do that, isn't it? Because you have all these feelings and emotions that have not been dealt with appropriately. I said appropriately. What do you think the number one coping mechanism of a cop is?
Drinking.
Alcohol. Now, guys, y'all are cops. Y'all know what you're doing. You're good at what you do. How many of you in here work narcotics or work narcotics here? Do I need to explain to you guys that alcohol is a depressant? That when you get sad and depressed and your cup is way too full and you go home after your spouse and your kids have gone to bed, you probably already made them mad anyway. Again, week after week, month after month, year after year, they done got so acclimated you coming home and making everybody angry. Because you're just like a lion. You're like a bear that comes in with a thorn in his paw. I remember I grew up on a farm and I had this stud horse, this quarter horse stud. And he was about 3 years old, beautiful horse. And that sucker got caught up in a barbed wire fence. His right leg. He'd been there several hours. I came home from school. We always do our chores, and I'm looking for my horse. I see him way back in the back of the pasture. He's standing next to the fence, and I could see him. He kept pulling, and I'm going, what in the world? He's too far away. So I got up to him. I got close, and I realized he somehow had got his foot caught in this barbed wire fence. And it pulled away from one of the posts and was wrapped around his foot. And that sucker I could see was in this tendon, which is going to cripple this horse. Now, I walked toward this horse because I want to do what? I want to help him. But he's hurting. And he's afraid. So what did he do? Did he stand there and let me help him?
No.
No. He started pulling, and I'm trying to calm him down. See, that's how we are sometimes. We come home and we're caught in a barbed wire fence, and we're about to cut our tendon in half, you know, and they just want to talk to you and be nice, and they just want you, I want to help you. Will you talk to him? How's your day today? It's fine. We don't have to give all the gory details of fatalities and the murders and rapes, but why can't we just be honest and tell them, you know what, I had a tough day today. Really? I had a 3-year-old child die in my arms today. It was hard. I thought about our own child, baby. I thought about my own little girl as I worked that wreck, and I held that kid in my arms. Why can't we just be honest and tell them the truth? Because it's going to come out, isn't it? It's going to come out in your behavior. Before the night's out, it's going to come out directed toward your children and your spouse. I have to ask, How many of you in the last, this is a rhetorical question, I do not need a response. But I wonder how many of you in the last 90 days have been told by your spouse or one of your teenage children, why are you so angry all the time? Why are you so angry all the time, Dad? You always come home, you always seem to be so angry and mean. Got a thorn in your paw, do you, my brother? You want anybody to help you get it out? Because see, we've been taught as children, your big boys don't what?
Cry.
And to ask for help is a sign of
Weakness.
both of those are lies. I have cried on this job. That 3-year-old died in my arms when I talk about that all the time because that was 30 years ago. I still can see it. Can I make it go away? Can I make it go away?
No.
No. And I talk about that child. I've done more than 3,000 speaking engagements across the country. And I tell that story in every one of my engagements because it had a bearing on me. Big boys don't cry. To ask for help is a sign of weakness. And I sit there on that highway, guys, and I held that 3-year-old child in my arm while her mother, this young mother screaming, yelling, please don't let my little girl die. And I talked to her and I said, baby, please hold on to my finger. Just hold on to my finger, baby. As I held her in my right arm, her mother in my left. As this mother kept looking, I still could see her face. She kept looking up at me, sobbing, screaming, please, please don't let my little girl die. She died in my arms. And I sat there, this tough, macho state trooper with a reputation for being tough. And I sat there on my knees. I held this young mother and this child in my arms. And I cried, and I cried, and I cried. You're not supposed to bury your children. So how do we come home? At the end of the day, with all these stressors that we have to deal with, and how do we have to teach ourselves to be human? And that it's okay to sit down and cry. It's okay to ask for help. Now, if your wife is not one of your best friends, you're probably screwing up. Now, we all have somebody we can talk to. Darrell and I were talking about this a few minutes ago. I have a few troopers that are my best friends. I mean, I will tell them anything. They'll do the same with me. But I'm very fortunate. My wife is a licensed professional counselor. She's also a clinical dietitian. She's the love of my life. Every morning I get up and I fix her coffee before she gets out of bed. I have coffee ready. And we're going to spend about 30 minutes together before we go to office. In the evening time, we're going to spend a minimum of an hour to an hour and a half, just she and I talking. We're just going to talk. How's your day? What's going on? What meetings you go to? Oh, you met who? Well, oh, who's that? I want to know the little things about her. I want to talk about it. She said, well, how's your day today? Oh, it was good. It was good. I did, well, what'd you do? I did this, I did that. It's called communication. My friends, your wives will call it intimacy. Do we know how to be intimate? But is it difficult to do that, guys, when you come home and you freak your cup's too full? Is it? Shake your head, yes. Yes. So we got all these obvious stressors and stuff, so we just hide them, don't we? We try to hide them in our closets to make them go away. Can you make all your things that you hide in your emotional mental closet, can you just make them go away? Huh? Can you? No. They will not go away. They will never go away. But they will at least get to the point that you can deal with them if you'll recognize them, you'll admit their existence, and you'll deal with them in a rational manner. Or I'm going to deal with that child who died in my arms. Guys, I'm going to tell you, I tell that story thousands of times about that 3-year-old child because it still gets to me. It still bothers me that child died in my arms. I didn't want to do that. But I've talked about it thousands of times. And I hear troopers tell me, they come in and talk to me in my office and say, well, I talked to my wife a couple of times about that. Really? You did? I've talked about this 3-year-old child thousands of times because it still gets to me. We have to talk. We have to deal with the things that we do. We have to be mentally and emotionally sound, guys. If you don't open that closet door called the subconscious mind and pull out all those, I refer to them as my dead ducks in my closet. You place a dead duck in a closet, leave it there for about a year, is it gonna stink? Is it? Is it gonna seep underneath the threshold and start seeping, the odor's gonna seep through your house? Will it? Throw a dead duck underneath your police car, leave it there for about 3 months, see what happens. Will it stink? Will it get on your uniform? See, that's what we do with all these things that we do not appropriately deal with. It stinks up our lives. It messes up our careers, messes up our relationships, our marriages. It steals our peace and our joy because we do not sometimes know how to appropriately deal with the things that keep coming to our mind. I'm convinced of this. And I've gone through a lot after my shooting. I had no clue, my friends, versus a tough macho state trooper, I had no clue the valley I was about to walk through. For 18 months, give or take a month or two, I lived in an emotional hell. Do you think I told my friends and family? Did I? I look back so many years past, that's been 27 years ago this month. March 14th, 1986. I look back so many years and realize how much I suffered. I'm talking suffered. Emotionally self-inflicted suffering because I would not admit to my family and my friends because I hid it well. I'm doing okay. I'll get through this. And when they all went home and I was left at home by myself to spend the night there by myself, scared to death, I just sit in the corner of my bedroom all night and I'm crying. I was dying inside. When my friends came over the next morning, my family came over the next morning to check on me, I put my smile on my face and how you doing, man? I'm doing okay, man. I'm doing okay. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to be okay. Now, maybe I was trying to convince myself that I was, but God, deep down inside, I was dying. Because I would not admit to myself nor my friends that I needed help. And it wasn't until I was sitting on the edge of my bed one afternoon, one Sunday evening, with my revolver in my hand. His tears poured down my face. Guys, I didn't want to die. But I can't even, I don't know if you could even fathom, unless you've been there, how much emotional pain I was dealing with. Because I would not talk to my friends and tell them the truth, that I was dying inside. I sat there on the edge of the bed with my revolver, so I could sit there and cry. And I thought about my 10-year-old daughter. I said, I've got to get some help, or I'm not going to make it. My friends, you can be the best that you can be as a caller. But if you're not dealing with the emotional, mental stuff that you have to deal with as a cop, listen to me carefully. You ain't going to make it. It'll steal your peace. It'll steal your joy. You know, when EJ was introduced me a few minutes ago, reading all that nonsense, he said I wrote 2 books. I just finished my 3rd one. As a matter of fact, it came in today at 12:30. The title of my book is called What's in Your Heart Comes Out Your Mouth. But you know what it's really about? Now, have we all done it? Have we all said things to someone, our spouse, our children, a good friend? Have we all done and said something to someone that hurt their feelings? Are we all guilty? Are we all guilty? Have we been recipients of people who said or done something mean or ugly to us? Have we all been there? My book is about forgiveness. What's in your heart comes out your mouth. I'm a firm believer of this. Before you can ask somebody that you want them to apologize. I was talking to a guy when I was writing my book. He said, well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm not telling them I'm sorry. I'll forgive them until they tell me first. Dude, I'm a firm believer. Don't ask somebody else to clean up their house until you clean up your own. You hear what I'm saying? Maybe we need to deal with that person in the mirror first. Let's deal with the things that we've done to people that hurts other people. Now, of course, it's biblical. It says to go to your brother and you ask for forgiveness. Well, sometimes that might do more harm than good. But I do believe it's called Gestalt therapy. Pull up an empty chair and sit in that person or thing in that chair. Because nobody gets hurt by that. Because you cannot heal until you feel no exceptions to the rule. I still do it on occasion. I'll pull up an empty chair and I'm blind as a bat. I just act like there's a chair there. You know what I'm saying? And I'll sit that person in that chair and I'll tell them how I feel. And I'm going to dump all my feelings and emotions out in the middle of that invisible chair. so I can move on. Because if you do not deal with your feelings and emotions, if you don't get it off your chest, I guarantee you're gonna take it out on somebody else. Am I telling the truth? It is gonna come out. Just like the Fram oil filter motto said, pay me now or pay me later, but you will pay. So what I'm gonna do, my friends, I'm gonna ask you when I wrap this thing up so y'all can go back and go shoot some stuff. Is think about that. Just like my book said, can you forgive others for what they've done to you? Can you forgive yourself for hurting others with your tongue? And can you be thankful for what you've got? Now, I don't have time to go into all the story, but I'll put it in a nutshell for you. 1962, I lost my mom on my birthday. I miss her tremendously. 1986, I was shot in the face and totally blinded. I lost my career that I loved very much. In 1997, my 22-year-old daughter Kim was killed in a traffic accident. It's not fair. And in 2010, on March the 22nd, my son Brad, the love of my life, was murdered in Lafayette. It's not fair. How do we deal with the accumulation of grief and loss and death? And I firmly believe, my friends, it starts with that man in the mirror. You have to, like my mama taught me, because I truly believe this. I'm not trying to preach to you, but God don't make mistakes. Things happen. We have such thing as free will, but I truly believe that God allows things to happen for the better. Now, not for me. I lost my sight, my career, my mom, both of my children are dead. Ain't nothing good about that for me. But if I tell the story all across the country about not taking your children for granted, about loving them and showing them every day how much you love them, and being forgiven when they screw up. Are your kids going to make mistakes? Are they? Are you hard on them? Are you forgiving? My son, when he was in high school, this beautiful kid, he got a little trouble in school. Now, he's a character. God dog, he was a character. He was a class clown, honor roll student, gifted athlete, great personality. But because of this foolishness, he got a little trouble in school. He wouldn't behave himself because he was wanting to have fun. So the principal called us to the office, my wife Jamie and I. And he sat there at the principal's desk. He cried. He just felt bad about what he'd done, but he's just a kid having fun, unfortunately. The next morning he got up. It was Saturday morning. He got out of bed. He came, and I was sitting there in my recliner. He came over, sitting next to me on the couch next to me. He said, "Dad, I'm sorry. I know I disappointed you and Mom yesterday, and y'all had to come to the office." And he said, "I know y'all probably upset with me, and Dad, I'm sorry. Dad, you're not mad at me, are you? I'll never forget." I reached over and I grabbed his hand. I said, "Son, look at me." I said, "Now listen to me carefully. I love you. And there's nothing you can do to make me love you less, and there's nothing you can do to make me love you more. I love you unconditionally." How would I know? How would I know that 2 years later my son would be dead? My friends, listen to me. I love being calm. Every one of you in this room will love the job you do as a police officer, but don't love it when you do in your family. Some of you might want to go home when the school is over. You might want to sit down with your family. Some of you need to learn to say these three things. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please forgive me. And actually mean it. Now remember now, actions speak louder than words. They may ask you, what happened at school this week? You're out there shooting and blowing up stuff and all the stuff y'all do, but you're different. Something's wrong. When you come in and you tell them those things, they might look at you like you're a little crazy. They might wonder if you've been drinking. They may ask you, what happened to you at school? Why the change all of a sudden? Why all of a sudden are we so important in your life? We never have been before. It's always been about you and your little run and gun career. What happened to you today? What happened to you this week? Why the change all of a sudden? blind man, taught you how to see. I don't know how much longer y'all gonna be here, a couple of days, whatever it is. I wish I could join you. I wish I could go out there and start firing some shit, you know what I'm saying? They won't let me do that. One of these days, EJ told me he's gonna let me. I think I can qualify.
I was a sideline to say picture, Bob.
Dude, I got it down. I can see it. Enjoy yourself, have fun. I wish I could join you. I wish I could go do some of the stuff that y'all doing. Y'all are just grown-up kids, is all y'all are. You do know that. Y'all like to shoot stuff and stuff. Guys, thank you for letting me come here. Y'all go back to work, go back to class. I'm done.
All right, thank you very much.